Hey folks, Johnson here. Okay, today we're going to work on the Bookwalter Leffel steam engine. It's the upright one with the boiler. I'll show you on it in a little bit, but our problem we have, this is the valve rod and that's the piston rod. So this one's not as bad. You can see quite a bit of wear. This one is oblong shaped where it's wore bad. Now the taper inside of these is where the packing goes. That's what the packing tightens up and pushes against this rod. Well, first thing we need to do is get the rods in there and get them cleaned up really well so we can get a good measurement. And then the plan, instead of making these, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bore them out. I'm going to press a piece of brass into them, solid piece, and then I'll bore out the size I need for the rod. And that way we'll just leave it, but we'll do it tight enough to where they'll never move. And you know, that one's the same way. We're going to tighten them both up. But like I said, first we need to get these cleaned up so we'll know what size they are. And we're going to do that here on the lathe. And then we'll start getting to work at it. All right, folks, a little change in plans here. I started cleaning this up and found some pits I didn't like. So I decided to go with something different. So what we've got is a 1/2 inch bolt. And we'll polish that off and then we'll cut it off to length. And then drill our hole for our pin to go through. Right there. Now we may have to turn the end down a little bit because one of them's measuring, hold on, we'll tell you. Oh, I've got a digital tape, digital, and I don't like digital, but well, that ain't right. Alright, so 1/2 inch, and this one actually is measuring, yeah, it's measuring 1/2 inch too up at this end. You get it farther down to where the wear is at, it's a lot worse. Starts getting smaller and smaller, so it's got some wear on it. But them pits, I just didn't like them, so I think I can smooth this out a lot better, and then we'll cut it and drill it, and that one will be done. All right. Okay, as you can see, there's our new shaft, and we're way oversized on this. Now, I mean, we want a little bit of play in it, but you know, this thing's got way too much in it. Okay, so I'm boring this out. I'm not boring to any particular size. I'm doing it by sound. So when it sounds like it's smooth the whole way, I'm cutting, I'm going to stop. We'll take a measurement and then we'll make a blank to fit inside of it. All right. Okay, so we bored this one out. We're ready to put this plug in it. Like I said, this is brass, so this is going to make us a nice plug inside, and we'll make it solid, and then we'll redo the setup in the lathe, of course, before we bore it, and then we'll recut the taper on it. The way they had it cut, I don't know why it was cut like it was cut, but it wasn't on center at all. But anyway, so we'll take care of that. So 1/2 inch. This is actually a, get in the camera view here. So this is actually a kingpin bushing for a Model T Ford. And as you can see, it's perfect. Perfect size. Slides really good. There's just not enough play in it to really matter. So what we're going to do is we'll cut it off, whatever we need to do, but we're going to bore this out and press it inside of it. Okay folks, we've got everything done we needed on this one, and got it up in there. Okay, we finished up the valve rod. Smooth and nice as can be. That's going to come out really good. I drilled the hole. Now they had a nail through it. I'm going to run probably a heavy cotter pin through it for now until I can find a roll pin. And you'd think I'd have a roll pin set, but anyway, so this goes on the inside of the valve chest, and that goes on the outside, and you can see the little oil hole. So it's got to be cleaned up. All right, rings. Got an issue here with the rings. The rings are not, they're the right width. And I don't think they're that worn, but if you hold them together where they would close the gap pretty close, you know, you wouldn't even believe the ring end gap. I'll show you what ring end gap is in it. And the cylinder's not worn out bad, because it's got to be a 4.5 inch bore. It's the rings that are worn out really bad. Piston fits in good. The clearance is not terrible between it. Not for a steam engine. So let me see if I can get the ring down in there. somebody had a bunch. I'll show you what they had behind the rings too. Yeah, there's our ring end gap of Lord have mercy. It's just so you don't need a fielder's gauge to measure that. And here's what they had behind the rings on the back side. Looks like pieces of sheet metal that somebody had cut and bent. So we're going to see if we can't round up some rings that fits this thing a little better. You know, even if we got to stack them, or I mean, I can O-ring it, but you know, I want to be able to run this on steam later, so I'd rather not use O-rings. So anyway, I'm going to get them lined up, and I think I'm going to go ahead and surface grind the valve chest, not this piece, but the chest itself, and get that ready. And it's got to be cleaned up really well for gaskets and everything. We're going to have to make some gaskets. So, all right, folks, got the rings in today. There's one of them. Really nice set of rings, strong as can be. Might be a little too strong, but anyway, they'll work. So you can see my ring end gap on my lower ring. That's the new one compared to the upper ring, which is the originals. So, and yeah, they're cut a little different, but it really don't matter. So she'll seal fine for what we need. So I'm going to go ahead and hone it a little bit and get the piston in. We're going to try to get something back together on this thing. I still got to make gaskets for this. I wanted to lap the valve in some, so we might need to do that. Make sure it's going to seat correct. Okay, folks, getting back on the book welder Leffel boiler engine. I moved it over here under our shop here, or building, or whatever you want to call it. The Bates Motel. How about that? That's a Bates engine. So anyway, still working on this. Still waiting on a few more of these so we can machine them out. Got the hone for the valves. Got to get all that done. And hopefully, well, the plans are to run this engine this year and off of steam. And the plans are for this one to run this engine today off of air. So it's not going to include, well, it may include, I may try to braze some stuff up here. You know, we've got that, and I didn't cut a piece out. I was going to cut a piece out to put in this head to try to make it just look a little better, but for now we're fine. Okay, I was going to tear it down, clean it up, and paint it. I'm not going to do that. I want to run it a little bit first anyway. So I did not put a packing in here, so I got to take it back apart and pack it. Do have the packing here. We need to oil everything up. This is going to come back apart. I got to make a gasket for each side, and I've got to put thread tape or sealant on there, and then just bolt the head on. And I'm going to shorten this belt a little bit, and we'll just take about a ½ inch out of it, tighten it up a little. What had happened was I actually tightened this down further, and when I did, it shortened the length up for the belt, so that's not a problem. But we want the governor to be able to turn. I've already got it piped in here, and we got a valve on it. Hopefully the valve's good, and I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to see how many leaks we got. I don't like running on that big air compressor. My regular air compressor is actually down right now. The pressure relief valve I had to order, or the cutoff valve. So I'm going to have to run it on the big air compressor, and of course we're going to hear it. It's going to be noisy, and I've got a little tiny air compressor, but I could just bring it over here and see what it would do, but I don't think it would even run it. I mean, it shouldn't, as small as it is anyway. I mean, it might would run it for a second, but it's not going to keep up the air pressure to run it. So anyway, so oiling everything up, getting 2 gaskets made, sealing this back up, and putting us a packing in there, rope seal. That's probably all we need to do for now to make it runnable. Of course, bolt the head down. Got new rings. We're going to see how that works. Should run good, I hope. We'll see. All right, folks, here's where we're at. Okay, so we have got one piece that's broke off of the D cup, the D valve. I'm not going to worry about it. It looks like it's been that way for a long time. It still pulls it up and down fine. Eventually it probably needs redone, but for now it'll be okay. We're going to run it and let it go. And let me see. So we got a cotter pin in. I'm just going to bend it up a little bit. It's pretty tight. Got our gaskets made. Got us a, I actually put an O-ring in there. I couldn't find any small rope seal. I'll have to pick some up. So we'll get some oil down in there real good. And it should, I think it'll, you know, seal off good enough anyway. So I've still got to take this out and put some tape on it. And we're going to try, I think I'm going to try to brace that governor ball back on and see how that goes. And we'll keep working with it. Alright, folks, everything's together and oiled, and we're going to, like I said, try it on air. I did not put the other ball on. We're just going to run it with it off. It's not going to, shouldn't turn fast enough to matter, but I guess if it flies off, it'll hit me in the head. But we're going to see if we can either remake this piece, which wouldn't be that hard to do, or we can try to braze it. With it being that ball, we're going to see how fast it goes before we make that decision. I was going to go ahead and braze it, but you know, time is the issue. I've got everything oiled up good. We've still got to make a wedge for the lower bearing, but it is tight, so we're not worried about that problem. Now, I've oiled everything good. I've oiled inside of it. I've put oil in the cylinder. I mean, we've added enough oil to know that everything's lubricated good. You can see it's running out of here. I've put some down in before I tighten the packing up, and I'll probably still have to tighten it up some. And I'm not sure on this one. We'll have to see. And we've got our drain cocks open, top and bottom, and we'll go ahead and try it and go from there. See if I can get this air compressor to fire up. All right. Alright folks, we got issues, but it runs. Runs pretty fair. This got some play in it. Definitely got play. I've got a bolt through it, but I've got a bolt with a shoulder on it, so I was hoping it would, yeah, you can't see it much there, but it's not real bad. It don't make a lot of noise or anything like that. The exhaust is terrible noisy on it for some reason, but I think a lot of it's got to do with the fact that our I didn't surface or lap in that D-cup valve, and I probably should lap it. We've still got a little bit of a leak from this side of the head, and that's not a mating surface at all. That's just it's farther in, so we need to take it off and clean it, and maybe we may make a head for this thing. I don't know. I hate to make one out of steel. I'd rather do one out of cast, and maybe I can get somebody to cast one, and then we'll remachine it. And because I just don't care to have a you know, a turned out billet head on this engine and really have something more original. So we've still got the wedge to make, which is not loose, but we're going to make one anyway. Don't know why it's missing or how it got missing, but anyway, it's missing. I think we can get it to run a little better if we can get that, you know, D-cup valve to seat good. And you know, I really need to braze that piece inside there, or maybe even make a new D-cup valve. I wouldn't mind doing that because that's hidden, you'll never see it. And you know, I might even make one out of bronze or brass. So anyway, belt stretches. Won't be long, we'll be shortening it up again, I guess, but there at first it wasn't working. And then I don't know, the governor definitely gonna have to be taken apart and redone. I put an O-ring in it, it don't leak here. That worked out really well. I've seen a little bit of leak, but mainly around the packing nut. And when I stopped the governor, when I raised this ball up, and I shouldn't say this ball, but these balls that's supposed to be here, when you raise it up, it should have shut it down. And it should, you know, cut the steam pressure back and slow the engine. It didn't do it. You could hear it a little bit, but so it's not sealing inside. So I think we need to tear it down and just rebuild the governor. Go ahead and go through it, fix the top, the balls right. And I wish I could find some gears for it. I could make them, but I mean, they will work. You know, they're doing fine. But I think a lot of my problem is in here. As you can see, we need to rebush that. This one's not bad, but if we rebush that and got that back right, I think we could work with it and get the backlash on the gears right. I mean, it's not perfect, but it'll run. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to go back to work on the boiler also, and we're going to try to get it done so we can actually, you know, run this stuff on steam. So, all right, appreciate everybody watching. Until next time, bye. Okay folks, we got another piece in I thought maybe some of you might enjoy. Okay, this is a Chicago pneumatic tool company, air compressor, steam engine. So this cylinder here is the steam engine, that cylinder there is air compressor. Got a really nice 2-inch clamshell governor. Last patent date on it was 1899. Not sure the year of the engine, it could be clear up into the 20s. Neat open crank. A lot of engines, you know, later engines, they close the cranks in and run them in oil. This particular one is open, so it's probably a little earlier. Now we've got another engine coming in this coming weekend. It's actually a Buffalo Forge company. Now it's an old one, early one, but it is closed because they was probably one of the first ones to do the enclosed engine, and it's actually a generator. And we'll look at it in a future video. But okay, so this is a 9-inch bored 11-inch stroke. Pretty nice engine. Been sitting for years and years. This came from Virginia, up there where the big engines are at, or you know, of course I'm afraid they're going to get scrapped, but I bid on this one and got it at the auction. Okay, let me show you something about this thing. Okay, first you'll probably understand why they call this a clamshell governor. It actually opens and closes like a clam, and the farther out it opens, you know, then when it speeds so fast, it'll close the valve down. And we're hoping this valve here has been closed. One of the bad things about this engine, of course, besides being beat a little bit, it ain't bad. Somebody's fixed it at one time. I'm not even worried about that. That's not a bad looking repair or nothing. Covering something up like this. This thing has been sitting outside for probably, I don't know, 25 years, maybe more. And it was covered up. And as you can see, there's what was left of the cover. It was only covered on the back side. You can see where this dirt is at and this rust is at. Everything forward of that wasn't covered. Everything back here was covered up. And look at what it done to the valve rod. So the valve rod's perfect where it wasn't covered. Where it's covered, it's rusted away. It's gone. Now, I mean, that's not a big issue because that's an easy thing to make. And you can see it's got a mount for the oiler. Got a mechanical oiler. And this, I guess, operated the governor to slow the governor down when the air pressure got as high as it needed to get. Never dealt with one on an engine like this, so not sure how it works, but anyway, you can see the rust and where that cover held the moisture in. I mean, basically is what it was doing. So that's not a good thing, but that's okay. This thing, we basically gave scrap price for it, so you know, we saved it from the scrap yard. It's a shame that some of that other stuff's going to end up going to the scrap yard, but you know, I can only do so much. So not sure what kind of governor this is. I can't see it. So, Chicago pneumatic, okay, tools. So that's the right governor for it. Okay, it's a Chicago pneumatic tools governor. Never knew that they made their own governor. So this was made in Pennsylvania. Where in Pennsylvania? Let me see. That's what I'm wondering too. Franklin, Pennsylvania. Let's see if we can get to where you can see that. There she is. Alright, so we're going to get this unloaded and cleaned up, but just wanted to show it to you. I'll show it to you later on cleaned up, and we'll set it somewhere for now. Alright, one more thing here real quick I'll show you. You wonder how good stuff holds up. So this is it's a mechanical oiler, but you can hand prime it. And if you watch, there's a little crack in this line right here. And it's shooting water out. So it's still pumping. So we need to get that thing off there and drain and get some oil in it. Get that water out of it. And it looks like, I mean, I'm sure it'll work fine.